G'day guys, and today I want to quickly weigh in on the debate that's going on at the moment within Australian media circles concerning religious schools and their right to boot out kids that are lesbian or gay. Now for me this is a pretty simple issue. It's either faith or funds, private or public. If your church school, it doesn't matter which church, I don't care, Islamic, Christian, Buddhist, whatever, if they're taking state funding, they have to play by state rules. You don't get special treatment just because the people who go to your school believe in a certain something. At the point where you take state funding, you're no longer a private entity, you become a state entity and you're beholden to state laws. It's different, however, if you're a private entity and you're privately funded. In that regard, obviously you're a private entity, you should be able to do whatever you want in an ideal society. So if you are privately funded, it's your school, you can do what you want, you can discriminate and I don't care. And there's a few reasons I don't care. It's not the business of the state to regulate and tell people what they can do. And this includes the business world. The state shouldn't be able to tell me, hey, you're running this cafe, you shouldn't be punching people in the face. Ideally I should know that off the top of my head, but pretty soon it'll become quite clear that's not a good business model, because every person I serve, when I punch them in the face, they're never going to come back and they're going to talk shit about my business. And it's very much the same for these religious schools. If it becomes known, and it will, because, people talk, and this is quite a visceral issue, that, little Tommy got expelled because he's gay, people are going to go, oh, shit, I don't want to go to that school. And ideally, in the marketplace, there would be a lot of competition, there'd be many schools, and you could pick or choose, and they'd be, forcing themselves to, offer a better product in order to entice you. This may not be the case in some parts of Australia, where you have, the small country town with only the one school. But in that case, you can either negotiate and explain the situation, and you might get fucked. They might be, really hard line and say, no, we can't do this. And in that case, life's tough. You got to do what you got to do. Homeschooling is always an option. But something else I want to point out is that just because it's a church school doesn't mean it's going to discriminate. There is this one-dimensionality that is present in the media at the moment, that all the church schools are just absolutely chomping at the bit and cannot wait to expel gay kids because that's the only way they can get it up nowadays, or something like that. So let's treat these schools as individuals. You can find statements online, various schools saying, no, we're a church school, we don't give a shit. Schools should be places of tolerance and acceptance, we are all God's children, that sort of thing. And this tangents into an issue beyond just the right of the state to abuse private entities. A religious school is a private entity. It doesn't get special treatment, in my opinion, because it's religious, as I've mentioned. We're seeing some propaganda tactics at work here. I've already mentioned the collectivism from various journalists, but what we're also seeing is this weird attack on freedom, in which people are saying it's not freedom if you offend people. So we have this article, the right to expel gay people from school isn't about freedom, it's about cruelty. And it's saying, it comes to this weird conclusion that if the state regulates things, it's freedom, which is the utter antithesis of any libertarian throughout the world, because as we all know, all state laws, especially in Australia, are backed up by the point of a gun and you can't do anything. So I don't understand how a law which is backed up by the point of a gun can be anything to do with freedom at all. Additionally, the way this entire sort of little moral panic has been framed is that only the state can do anything about it. We need to make laws, we need to change laws, we need to have debate, the politicians need to do something. And that's just removing agency from the family unit. Like the family unit, why, if they have a gay son, if they have a lesbian daughter, or any combination of that, as gender politics decides, why can't they negotiate with the school? Why must they run to the state? Why must the state do anything? If we want the state to have a minimalist role, as libertarians do, the state shouldn't be involved in stuff like this. We should just be able to negotiate with the local public schools. And as I've mentioned, if they are hardline and they have a monopoly in your local area, just homeschool. If you really want the best for your children, just homeschool them. Don't force them to, hide what they are. Don't say to themselves, hey, it's totally, you have to do this. Just hide, your sexuality for your educational benefit. That's not a good lesson to teach your children. They should be taught to be open and honest about who they are, and not deceitful or hiding anything behind closed curtains, for nothing good can ever come of that. So I certainly reject the idea that only the government can do anything about this. That's not true at all. It's also quite interesting to watch our new Prime Minister Scott Morrison deal with this issue, as it has been brought up by the Greens and the Labor, they of course clamour for the regulation of the market at all times, as he seeks to regain conservative votes that have been hemorrhaged to One Nation amongst other parties, in order to sort of help him not lose the 2019 election that he's sure to lose. But he has bent over and has promised discrimination law amendments that to make sure that no student at a private or religious school should be expelled on the basis of their sexuality. So he's cucked out to the authoritarians and seeks to regulate the market. So yes, I have to oppose this issue on libertarian policies because I don't believe in the government meddling and telling me what I can do and how I can run my business and such and so forth like that. I'm not a religious partisan or anything like that. For example, if I believed in punching people in the head, it doesn't make my views any more valid than someone who believes in God. If I have no proof for my claim, it's all the same to me. Thanks for sticking around and have a good one.